Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name's Nick, and today I'm diving into my top 10 favorite horror movies from the year 1980. Not a real huge year for horror, but we sure did get a few gems in there, a few really big titles, but we also didn't get too many really shitty films either. It was a fairly good year. So quick disclaimer before I get into this. This is my list, my choices, and it's definitely not going to reflect anybody else's list. So don't get mad in the comments if your movie did not make my top 10 or my honorable mentions. I'll have a few of those too to mention. So let's not waste any more time. Let's just get right into this with my honorable mentions. Now I just want to name off these movies real quick because I do think they deserve a watch from all horror fans at least. My first honorable mention is Dress to Kill. Not exactly a straight up horror movie, more of like a crime thriller, but I thought I'd mention it on here. Great film. City of the Living Dead, an Italian film. Great visuals in there. Uh, Another film, Altered States, was another one with pretty cool practical effects. I think it was one of the first ones to use the bladder effect, like under the skin lifting and stuff. Pretty trippy movie. Next up, I got The Changeling, the supernatural, like haunted house ghost story, Canadian film, pretty good. We got the classic Prom Night slasher film with Jamie Lee Curtis. We got Inferno, and another Italian film by Dario Argento. This is part of his Mother's trilogy. Another visually stunning film. We got Alligator, which is a cool little creature feature. We got lastly Terror Train, another slasher with Jamie Lee Curtis and David Copperfield that's set on a train. So those were my honorable mentions. All films you guys should check out. They just didn't make my top 10. So getting into my actual top 10. At number 10, we got the movie Contamination. It also has other titles like Contamination, Alien 2, and different things like that. But yeah, this is an Italian film, and it definitely got some inspiration from the movie Alien. So basically, the story in this one is just about these mysterious eggs that show up on a ship, and that no one knows really anything about them. They happen to explode when they come in contact with people or with heat and that, and when they explode it like shoots all goo on the person, and the effects are amazing. It like melts their skin and like makes them like explode from the inside, and it's gnarly. And that's really what this film got going for it, is the violence and the gore. And yeah, it's a B movie, that's for sure. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's a little cheesy and cheap at times, but I just had a really good time with it. You got real likable characters in here. I do like the whole mystery surrounding the eggs and trying to find out where they came from and how did they get there. And we get another great score from the band Goblin, who has done quite a bit of these Italian horror films. So next up at number 9, we got one of Troma's earlier films, Mother's Day. Now this film is kind of a mix of a bunch of things. It feels like an exploitation film at times, like a revenge film, like a comedy and satire. It's definitely offensive, we'll say that. But to me, it just worked on so many different levels. It gets under your skin, and then the next moment, I'm laughing my head off at this ridiculous like 80s montage of the two brothers working out, which is the bad guys. Because basically, this film is about these two brothers who are demented and screwed up and that, and they listen to whatever their mother says, and she is worse than them, and she gets them to murder and rape people and such for her pleasure, which sounds very dark and gritty and like an exploitation film, like I said. But just the way that these characters interact with each other, and that is pretty goofy at times. It just makes for a really highly entertaining film. It's just a really good time for this type of film, because usually films like this, like Last House on the Left and that, they're really dark and they're not something you want to revisit a lot, even though they're really well made. But this one has enough, it's wacky enough to get you to come back, I guess. Next up at number 8, we got the film Maniac. Now, this film makes you feel like you need to take a shower afterwards. It's dirty, it's grimy. It's set in New York, and it has that like dirty late 70s dark New York feel to it too. So the location adds to it as well. And in this film, we follow around our lead, which is actually the bad guy, played by Joe Spinell. His name's Frank Zito, and this is a slasher. So he is going around and like scalping young ladies and putting them on mannequins and shit. And he has like a troubled childhood. He misses his mother. Essentially, his mother was kind of like a whore in that, and like was pretty abusive. But he's still psychologically broken from that, and he misses her, and it causes him to go out and do these nasty things. Yeah, the film is it just looks great for its budget and the time. It really captures the just the griminess of the whole situation. The acting's on point. The effects in this movie are top notch too, due to Tom Savini being attached, which is always good. Big standout being the head exploding, the guy in the car. Like, wow, what a shotgun blast. Next up at number 7, we got the film Motel Hell. Now, this is a film that I watched before doing this list. I have not previously seen it, but I always remember seeing the cover places and that, and I was always interested in watching it. Like, just the premise alone is pretty interesting. It's about this farmer Vincent who runs his motel, and he's also a farmer, so he like sells fritters and stuff, and he uses a special ingredient in his meat, or like special meat or whatever, that he doesn't tell anybody. It's a secret, but we learn to find out that it's a he has people from the motel that he takes or whatever, and he buries them in the ground with just their necks up, and keeps them in there until he wants to cook them, like keeps them alive or whatever. And that's the secret ingredient, is everybody's eating people, eating human meat. And while that might seem pretty dark and disgusting, and that the film is played in a very fun way and entertaining, this is a horror comedy. When it boils down to it, the comedy is just very dark, and some of the lines too from Farmer Vincent are hilarious. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, but a few of his lines about his meat and that, it just got me cracking up. Yeah, this is definitely one not to take seriously, and it's just a fun little thrill ride. So coming in at number 6, we got Humanoids from the Deep, produced by Roger Corman. Now, this is quite the crazy little film. It's about these like mutated salmon creatures that like they evolve into these creature people sort of things, almost like a creature from the Black Lagoon design a little bit. Anyway, and they essentially come out and try to rape all of the human women, the females, to spawn more babies. And it's like, what a premise. And it works as part like exploitation film, part like creature feature, and part black comedy. I just read the little description they gave the film before watching this, and I'm like, I gotta get on this. This sounds crazy and kind of right up my alley. And it for sure was. The costume designs were pretty on point. This was produced by Roger Corman, so you get a little bit of that style in here as well. But it's definitely another fun one to check out. So reaching our top 5 mark, we got the movie Fade to Black. Now, this is a fairly unknown film. I don't hear too many people talking about this one. And it's ironic because the main character in this is a film buff. Like, he's right, a movie nerd there. Like, he knows all the trivia. He doesn't have like any friends. He essentially just watches movies all the time and looks up the trivia and that. And a lot of people could relate to this character. Of course, the character starts losing kind of his mind and losing sense of reality, where he starts acting out some of his fantasies from films in real life, like taking out his anger on people in real life by dressing up as like Dracula, say, and then like killing him in like that type of way. And it's really cool. It's sort of meta too for the time. A really clever film. It offers so many like Easter eggs in that for us horror fans. Like there's certain lines of dialogue that the character will use in that. It's like from old 50s movies or 60s movies, and it's just a whole lot of fun. So the way it plays out, it's very much more of a character study. Is the style of this horror film, you could say. And this also has great acting all around from the whole cast included. And there's this girl that the main lead is also stalking during the movie throughout, because she is a Marilyn Monroe lookalike, and goddamn does she ever look like her. And yeah, just everything looks great. All the costumes the guy wears throughout looks great, and it's definitely a film targeted for the horror fans. Like, not everybody's gonna like this movie, but if you're a horror fan, you definitely should check it out, just because of all the little Easter eggs and how it's being kind of meta in that. So coming in at number 4, we got the film Cannibal Holocaust, one of the most controversial movies of all time. And for good reason. This is such a powerful movie. On the surface, it just looks like a cheap, cannibalistic money cash grab, you know? But it's really not. It's not just there to have people eat people. There is a message in here, a really strong message about society and how we treat other people. And it's like, are they the crazy people, this little tribe, or is it more like the American type society that's the crazy ones? And it just really makes you think, and you love movies that do that. Like, after you're done watching it, you're just thinking about different things. Like, it put different thoughts and questions in your head. The film itself is beautiful and disgusting at the same time. There's some scenes in here it's really hard to watch, especially the animal deaths. If anything, I wish they could take those out of this film. I would happily watch an edited version where the animals aren't getting killed off in here. It's something that sounds crazy nowadays. A film would never get away with doing something like that with all the animal rights activists and that. But this was like filmed probably in like 79 or whatever. But aside from the animal deaths, the deaths in this film look really convincing, and well, so convincing that it made the director have to go to court over it and do a little bit of jail time over it. They thought that he killed off his cast, and he actually had to bring them into the courts to prove that he was still alive and show the tricks of how he did a lot of these effects, which just proves how well they were utilized. And on top of all that, this film is also considered to be one of the first found footage films. A good chunk, like probably over half of this film, is a found footage type movie, and I think that adds to the realism of the whole situation with the cannibals. And yeah, this movie isn't for the faint of heart. If you don't like watching uh, brutal stuff happening, or like stuff involving like rape or cannibalism or anything like that, you should stay clear of this film. But it is extremely well made, in my opinion. Uh, it looks realistic as hell, and I think that's the problem for a lot of people. Like I said, aside from the animal deaths, this is an amazing film that you should definitely check out at least once. It isn't something I would rewatch over and over, but I do revisit it from time to time. So we made it to the top 3, and coming in the 3rd place, we got the good old Friday the 13th. So I'm not going to talk about this film too much since I'm going to be reviewing it, but I'll just say that it was a great opening to this franchise. It's funny because most original movies are people's favorites in these big horror franchises, but this is not the case in Friday the 13th. A lot of the fans have it like midway in their rankings, but this is definitely an overlooked film. I think it's better than that. It got sweet kills for the year. You bring on Tom Savini, you're going to get that. They look gory and realistic as hell. This is before the big slasher boom. We didn't get too many of these films yet, so the kills really stand out. I really like the location and the setting with the camp and in the woods, and we got all the counselors. I do enjoy most of these characters. They're not real developed or nothing, but they're really entertaining. I love their personalities, and I think they get a bad rep. And Pamela Voorhees just is something else. Betsy Palmer really brought the energy to the character and done a really great job in that respect. And we get a pretty good little final battle with her and Alice. And to top it all off, this movie has one of the best jump scares in film history, with Jason popping out of the water at the end. It got me so good the first time I seen it, and it still gives you the chills every time you watch it, just because of the beautiful music playing right before it happens. And yeah, just a great film overall. So coming in at number 2, we got John Carpenter's The Fog. Now, this is one of the better ghost stories out there, in my opinion. Not a big fan of the genre, but this is one of my favorites. It definitely is a chilling tale about these ghosts trying to get revenge on the townspeople of something that happened in the past. But yeah, just the film looks great. Great location again, just like a little town off the coast with the lighthouse, and the way the fog rolls in, it all looks beautiful. The cast is superb with Jamie Lee Curtis, Janet Leigh, Adrian Barbeau. It's just a kick-ass cast. We got a great score, keeps the atmosphere and mood in check. And yeah, this is just an all-around great movie. But coming in the first place, I'm sure you guys already guessed it by now, it's Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Now, I know Stephen King doesn't really like this film, but I really do. This movie has everything going for it. It has beautiful cinematography, and just the way the camera moves out through the hotel, the overlook, and like following Danny around on the carpet with his big wheel and that, and everything is, you couldn't make it any better. And the atmosphere, the tension, the mood, everything is chilling. Its setting and the location is superb. You got them stuck in the Overlook Hotel in the middle of nowhere. It's super isolated, and then when we add winter on top of that and the snow, it's you can't get much better than that. And talking about the acting in this film, we got Jack Nicholson, who is more menacing than ever. We got Shelley Duvall, which I think gets a hard time in the horror community. So a lot of people don't like her. I think she did a great job. And Danny Lloyd, too, played little Danny so amazing, especially when he's like talking to himself with his finger in that. And just chilling, great performances all around. This movie just really has it all. The score, the sound design, the looks, like I said, it's scary as hell. Like those two little girls in the hallway gets me every time, no matter how many times I've seen this over the years. And it's just a film on a whole nother level than all the rest of these movies. To me, this is easily a masterpiece. It's got everything I want. You add in like the Overlook Hotel. Look how iconic that is. Look how iconic the scene in the bathroom with the old lady in the tub or whatever. Like the elevator scenes with the blood coming down, the scene with the two girls in the hall. These are all super iconic, memorable scenes. Like you can go on for hours talking about this film, but I'm not. It definitely is in a league of its own, and it is my number one film of 1980. So, how'd you guys like my picks? Have you seen them all? Is there some of these you never heard of and you're interested to check out now? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, give me your top 10 or at least a few of your favorite movies from this year. And I'll be sure to come back with more lists. I'll eventually go through 81, 82, and yeah, I'll make my way through them. So that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.